Well, this is definitely a mature elephant, everyone. And there's a few different things that tell us this. Of course, his size is a massive factor, and the length and width of those tusks as well being another factor. Elephants tend to really, their tusks tend to elongate in the last sort of 20 years of their life or so. So this elephant bull definitely over 40 years old. And also, if you have a look at his ears on the edges, you can see how tattered they are. Lots of little tears and almost very floppy in some ways as well at the ends. Also signs of experience out in the bush. And then above his eyes, you can see his temples are very sunken in. That's something that also tends to happen with the mature elephants. You can see that flapping of the ear, the tail, his trunk moving every now and again, and that's definitely for the insects and flies. You can actually see them from this view buzzing around him. That is possibly bothering him quite a bit, and that's why you're seeing that flapping and the flicking of the tail. Pizza Man, good to hear from you. You say good morning to everyone from New York. His tusks are huge. They are massive. Really impressive. And indeed, Mercedes, it is our boy 1 Ton, one of the known elephants of the area that come to visit here at Oldonyo. And you say, hello, a happy Wednesday. Is indeed a happy Wednesday, especially when it starts like this. But he's also got a little habit he does with his trunk, which is what I was talking about, I think it was 2 days ago. An elephant bull that I saw doing exactly what this elephant is doing while drinking, but every single time he drank, he would sit his bent trunk like that on his tusk. Fascinating the habits that some of these elephants have. Ooh, some exciting news, everyone. Wonderful to start off with this elephant who now seems to be moving off, but let's head over to Kwamaru Town where there is a tawny cat. Oh, wow. This is fantastic. A lion, everybody. I automatically think I should whisper because in the presence of cats. How awesome is this? Oh, giving us a bit of a yawn there. Like of the paws, she may get up. Hopefully not. Hopefully she stays right there. Or if she gets up, maybe she'll have a drink. That would be fantastic. feel like she's looking right at me. Oh, another yawn, everyone. Now that yawning is about stimulating the blood flow and getting it to sort of wake up the brain. So she, oh, and rolling over now. Now this looks like a subadult female lioness. I'm not sure with regards to prides of the Pilanesberg National Park and where she would fit in. I would think that she wouldn't be completely on her own. It is possible, of course, but usually this sort of aged cat, I would think she's anywhere from 4 to 6 years old. And I'll tell you now why I think that. But generally they would still very much be part of a pride. So who knows if there are other members around or on their way in the area. She also looks in very good condition, very healthy. She's not sort of a cat that's been like lost her pride, they've all been killed or something like that. She's been struggling on her own. It does look like she's actually very, very healthy, been feeding well. And you can see she's a young cat. If you have a look, there's a few things, but right now the first thing that I saw, she's still got these little markings, especially on her legs and belly area. They're almost like leopard rosettes, but in tawny color. And a cat, as they get older and mature, actually loses those markings. But as cubs, they have quite a few of them. And as the years go on, they become less and less distinct. But you can still see quite a few of them on her, especially down her back left leg there. Then her ears, I see one nick in the ear there that we can see, but generally still in very good condition. Her nose is still a little bit pink as well. Fully mature lionesses and lions, any of even a leopard, their noses will turn completely black once they've sort of reached a complete maturity later on in their life. Kim, indeed a gorgeous lioness. Absolutely fantastic. She's also got very little scarring on the face when we saw her there. So again, indicating that she is on the younger side. Pizza Man, you say she needs some coffee. I know, she was doing licking and then she did 2 yawns and I thought, ooh, is she going to move? And now she's just decided, actually, let me have another nap. Oh, this lioness is still resting here, everyone, and it's nice to get some perspective of exactly where she is. And clearly chosen a very nice, cool, shady spot, which is perfect for her. Close to water as well. Shiv, it is fabulous, isn't it? What a nice surprise when you walk in and have a lioness greet you on the screen. Even me, I was very excited to see this lioness on the screen when we arrived here at Kwamaritan. Tadiwa as well, who is directing today, was also very excited that we had a tawny at one of the waterholes. It's not something that happens every day, so we can really enjoy this sighting. She's sitting up. What beautiful eyes she has. I love that sort of white eyeliner just below. Said to help with reflecting more light into the eye. Cherry, yes. So I did actually speak about this a little bit when we first got here, that it's interesting that as far as we can see, she is on her own. It would be interesting, of course, if one could drive around the area. Perhaps there's a road close by. Maybe there's some other Pride members that are just behind the bush, for example. But, you know, she could have, her belly does look fullish. Maybe not today she's eaten, but she could have found some water. Maybe she's going to head back to the Pride. Often when it is very warm, and Pride members do sometimes find their own spots of shade. So we'll see if anyone else comes out of the woodwork. It's impossible to say 100% for sure that she's alone, because it does look like quite a dense area as well. So who knows if someone else might pop out to say hello. But there is a possibility, Cherry, that she is on her own. It's not unheard of. Sometimes lionesses do break away. Maybe she's pregnant, maybe she's had cubs, although I haven't noticed any suckle marks. She would be borderline age to have cubs. So I have seen also within prides that even though there is a pride, sometimes the lions will go off in groups or on their own to separate from the pride for a while. There's various reasons that they do that. So it's not unheard of to see a lioness like this on her own completely. We're just going to have a quick scan around to see if we can spot any other cats. See if there's maybe a lion lying somewhere. Corenzo, you say the water looks very unhealthy, or is it just the reflection or light angle? I would agree with you that water does not look particularly delicious or healthy. Definitely not for human consumption. But for animals out here, it's not really an issue. They have stomachs that are a lot tougher than ours, with necessary bacteria and enzymes and things like that to be able to sort of filter out the unhealthy bits and take the water nutritional value that they need. So for them, that water is absolutely fine, but definitely not. I'm not going to be running to that water hole. It is tricky with this camera to see all of the detail. So right now it looks like it's just this lioness, but like I say, the bush is very thick, especially where she's lying around her. So there may very well be other individuals that we just can't see right now. Bilbo, you would like to know how old do lions live for on average. So between lions and lionesses, the age is slightly different, just because lions tend to live a much, let's say, a more dangerous life in some ways, with being there's a lot more, let's say, violence or potential violence within their life, and being attacked by other lions. They have a lot harsher existence, whereas the females tend to stay in their prides and have the protection of the pride for their life. That is generally speaking. Of course, there are sometimes lionesses that get killed, as well as lions that may live longer than a lioness. So it just depends on the circumstances, but those are the general things that we find. So with lions, you're looking anywhere from 10 to 14 years maybe, and lionesses anywhere from 12 to, I think the record has been up to 18, but that is an exception. I'd say maybe 12 to 16 or so for a lioness. But any lion that, I think, whether it's a male or female, that reaches over 10 years has done very well out here, considering the harshness of lion dynamics and prides and territorial males moving into different areas and cubs and all sorts of things that go on. Any lion that reaches over 10 has done very, very well. Gary, yes, you can see how slow her breathing is. She's fast asleep. I know it may look like she is sort of lost consciousness asleep, but if there was any sort of movement or anything that she heard, she would open those eyes immediately. Animals out here generally don't sleep the way that we do as humans when they rest like this. Yes, absolutely, they're resting, her breathing slowing down, she's closed her eyes, so she can't, one of her senses is compromised and she's not really doing much of anything at all, but she is still aware, and her awareness is still there with her hearing and her sense of smell. We're also heading into a time of year that is very favorable for the predators. Winter time in the bush is often when they are the most successful, and also just a little bit easier for them, a lot less bush, easier to see, a lot less insects and flies. I can see one or two around her, but by far not as intense as the summertime. You can see that tail is hardly flicking, meaning that she's not really getting too irritated at the moment. You know what, Gary? I have actually seen it. I've seen it happen a few times with lions, and when they dream, and it's sort of that sort of very sort of light sleep dreaming, and also when more than one lion is together, often then you'll see some of them actually having dreams, even though it's a very light sleep, as it were. They'll sort of take turns, so one would usually be sitting with their head up, especially with big male lions in a coalition. Even if both are asleep, one would be sort of having a dream while the other one is still slightly aware. Oh, she's just opened her eyes. Anyway, but yeah, I remember that last year when I was at Juma, I saw a lion having a dream, and it was fascinating. We were all wondering about what lions dream of. But I suppose similar to dogs in that they may dream of chasing things. It did sort of seem like its paw was moving as if it was running. Oh, quite the stretch there. You could see her claws actually come out of her paw. Bilbo, you say that lions always seem to be having a lazy day, and it's true for the most part. When we do see these cats, usually in the daytime, they are generally resting in the shade, and we often have to explain to guests as well, who come out to see these animals, that they really do spend most of their day doing exactly this. And it's not so much that they're lazy, and I think lions and leopards, particularly lions though, get quite a bad reputation for their so-called laziness, but they often are very active during the nighttime, and they walk massive distances. They also hunt, which is extremely tiring, and even if they're on a kill, that takes a tremendous amount of energy to actually eat that food and to tear off the meat, and then the digesting process after that. So if we could sort of monitor one lion for 24 hours, there would be a large amount of that where they're doing nothing, inverted commas, and being lazy, inverted commas. But it's balanced out for what they general habits are at nighttime. Of course, they can still move around in the day, but if we look at sort of weighing up the difference between them, all the activity balances out with how much energy they actually expend when they are busy. Limbury, that's actually very interesting. Thanks so much for letting me know. You say you're watching from work, and she was on the camera 3 hours ago. She walked through scent checking and roaring, and you heard her roaring off the camera. Could she be looking for a mate? Yeah, absolutely. That could definitely be a possibility as well. Who knows? Maybe she's coming into estrus and she's trying to seek out a male. So that very well may be a possibility. Also makes sense for why she would be by herself. Generally, we see, males go to prides to check in and mate with females and that sort of thing. But there is a possibility that she would have felt the need to actually seek out a male. A particular male, the territorial males that she knows that are dominant over her pride, or the pride that she's part of. So absolutely fascinating. Lots of questions. But it is wonderful to discuss the possibilities. Well, we are going to leave this lioness resting here, everybody. We'll definitely keep an eye on her, and if she gets up, maybe she comes down to the water to drink or starts moving, then we'll hop back over. But for now, I think let's head over to Tau, where there are some elephants and some birds. Well, here we are, and there is the elephants and some wildebeest as well in the background, as well as this bowing goose. That's right, here closest to the camera. And I love when these ellies come into the water and start feeding on this grass. There's always such a variety of species here at Tau. You can see some kudus moving, some zebras as well in the background. Trunk and its tusk. I'm not sure if it was trying to work something out of the ground. And it's having a few more gulps of water, I think, before it heads off. Maybe it's going to do some dust bathing. Or first a few more splashes. Fair enough. he started moving quite quickly there. I wonder if maybe he's coming for a drink. I'm not sure. There's also a black-headed heron that was just in front of him. It looks like a mother and calf that have been enjoying some refreshing water in the background. Oh, that female is missing her tail. And does her calf also miss a tail? That is fascinating, everyone. I think it must then be genetic. I mean, that would be my likely reasoning. We always talk about why elephants sometimes are missing tails, but it's clear that this is mom and calf, and both of them actually have no tail. Well, this is just a beautiful scene with these two elephants and the zebras in the background. The little one's got a stick. Oh, it let it go. I thought it was going to play with it for a little bit. It does seem like Mom is pregnant with her next calf. Look how wide she is there on her side. I think this calf here is probably around 4 or 5 years. So it is time for her to very soon to give birth to her next calf if she is pregnant, which it looks like that is the case. That one was trying to use Mom as a rubbing post there. Gary, a very interesting observation. This particular spot where Tao is, this waterhole, is very open and there's a lot less trees around, but you can see leopards in Madikwe, absolutely. It's just, of course, quite rare in some ways, and not necessarily that just because there's less bigger trees around as you would see in somewhere like the Sabi Sands or in the Greater Kruger, it doesn't mean leopards don't have to have trees. They can inhabit so many different environments, including from very arid landscapes all the way to very lush riverine areas, even all the way down to the Cape of South Africa. So yes, trees are an adaptation for leopards to climb up, put their kills in, offers them a good vantage point, protection, keeping their kills away from things like hyenas, etc. But it's not like they have to have them in order to survive. So even if we see smaller trees around more shrubby, bushy areas, doesn't mean that we won't find leopards, but definitely not as prevalent as an area like the area of Djuma, where the leopard density is a lot higher than somewhere like Madikwe. But you would then see that their density for things like cheetah, for example, would be higher. But so fascinating with that mother and baby elephant both missing their tails. Really cool to see that sort of genetic continuation being passed on. Awesome sighting. Now let's have a look to see if we can see anything else around, maybe some birds. Like I say, there's a grey heron here. There was also a black-headed heron, which was quite nice to see earlier on. I saw some blacksmith lapwings and black-winged stilts around, red-billed teals, and I think some Egyptian geese. This goose has been very still, everyone. It's hardly moved, just slightly moving its head around. Almost statuesque in some ways. Oh, there we go. It's sat down. There's also sometimes things like black crakes, common moorhens that are also in between the reeds. We've seen, oh, there's the spoonbill, African spoonbill. There's a red-billed teal that I mentioned just on the right-hand side. They have very white cheeks, which always stand out to me in comparison to other species of water birds. Oh, this spoonbill is busy, isn't it? is beautiful lighting as well that's coming through here with the afternoon sun on these birds. I'm really hoping that we get to see the spoonbill actually catch something. There's actually a yellow-billed duck that's just come past there. Well, it moved away very quickly, but that was quite cool to see something different. And there is that black-headed heron that I mentioned, everyone. You can see the difference between this and the grey, a lot darker in color, dark on the top of that head all the way down the neck and the center of the back. Interesting to see this heron preening itself here and how it's using its bill to actually get in between its feathers, realigning them all. Eventually this heron will start to hunt again. Often birds take a good amount of time just to preen and sort out their feathers, get themselves back in tip-top shape before they start moving around and hunting. This is actually one of the best sightings of a black-headed heron that I've ever had. It's so great to be able to appreciate their colouring, a lot more like slate grey with a dark sort of black charcoaly head. Diane, so wonderful to hear from you. Thanks for sending in your comment. You say, hi Amy, what a beautiful bird. Absolutely, and I'm really appreciating this black-headed heron more than I ever have before. It sort of gets outshined, I think, by its cousin, the grey-headed heron, which is very impressive, especially in its breeding plumage. It sort of gets this orangey bill and has some very pretty markings and feathers and things like that. But this black-headed heron is actually gorgeous as well. And just look at those feathers around the neck. Very, very pretty. Oh, do you see how it just lifted up its leg there, put it up against its body, almost disappeared completely. It's having a bit of a look around, or maybe it's just stretching its neck a bit. Very interesting. Perhaps it's posing for the camera. That lifting up of the foot we see done by many different birds, mostly associated with flamingos standing on one leg, but in fact there are lots of other species that do the same thing, just like this black-headed heron. Oh, it's taking some steps, or maybe it's going to start hunting. But it's all to do just with conserving heat, keeping that leg as close to the body as possible, which means it keeps warmer, so two legs don't have to get cold. That was a very short stint of thermoregulation that was seen by that heron. see a yellow-billed duck is, they're also doing a bit of preening. Alright everyone, well that was a wonderful sighting here with that black-headed heron. I think let's head back over to Komaritan and check in on that lioness. Well, there she is everyone, still in the same spot. I do see some blinking going on. Ooh, there was a tail flick. Signs of life. Who knows, we may be lucky. Maybe she'll roll onto her back, show us her belly, try and catch some flies with her mouth. Gary, it's a good question. I'm not sure is the answer I have for you. Anything's possible. It does sort of look also with the sunlight like things are tawny in color. There's also a grass stalk just to the right of this lioness, which is catching the sun and actually looks like the outline of another animal. And it's been tricking me for a while now. Actually, it looks like a belly breathing, but it's just the wind lifting a grass stalk up and down, I think. Does look like breathing there just to the right, but it is, I think, the light catching a blade of grass. Although maybe I'm wrong. Oh, nice to see her lift her head. Have a look around just to check. Hey 40, you say, oh, sleepy lion, it looks so peaceful. It does, doesn't it? Looking very, very peaceful. It's found a good quiet spot to rest at the heat of the day. Well, I did see a ear flick there, everyone, just for proof of life. I am hoping that maybe she'll get a little bit thirsty, maybe be tempted to have a drink of water. There's a reason why she's chosen this particular spot so close to the water, of course. So that was the grass stalk that I was talking about, that sort of looks like the outline of a belly of an animal, but it is indeed just a stalk of grass that is bent in the right way. And that's moving with the breeze, but there's the real line. You can see her moving her ear like that. Oh, there's a bit of stretching, a bit of a sigh. Maybe we'll see a yawn. For those of you who are perhaps just joining us or tuned in, we're not exactly sure why this lioness is by herself, or if she is by herself at all, but she has decided to pop up on one of the Africam cameras, which is fantastic for us. And we have her here at Kwamaritan in Pilanesberg National Park in South Africa, and she's just lying in the shade near the water, resting. So I'm not sure of her particular story. There are a few possibilities, but it's not completely unusual to see lionesses pop up on their own every now and again. Gosh, if this particular waterhole, I do think that it's one that can be visited on game drive, but not per se is right in front of a lodge. When we did do a sort of 360 degree little look around earlier, I did see that it looked like the buildings of the lodge were quite far away. So I don't think there's a viewing platform or anything. I may be completely wrong, but like you said, it does also seem very quiet. We don't hear any human voices or anything like that, but perhaps still a spot that can be visited by vehicles. So of course this is not game drive time now, so we don't have to worry about that interrupting us here with those sort of noises. Looks like this lioness has gotten even more comfortable, everyone. Turn its head upside down. I just actually want to go and give it a little scratch on its chin. Biba, that is the best comment I've had all day. Say lion economy is way more advanced than it is for humans. Imagine if any time we had a full meal, we had a few days of work. That would be fantastic, wouldn't it? And almost like that classic Sunday lunch afternoon nap feeling that I think these lions have quite regularly if they're eating. Oh, Sandy, yes, indeed. Oh, there we go. She is rolling on her back. Oh. She has no cares in the world, Sandy, and is having a good rest and relaxing. For sure. Oh, she's put her foot on a tree. You can actually see she's got her claws out a little bit there. Hey, 40, you want to know what would I like to see pop up at a waterhole? I think, a leopard would be amazing. I haven't yet seen one on the cameras. Even a cheetah would also be very cool. But I think realistically, for also the time that we watch the show, sometimes also the weather has to play along, maybe a cooler overcast day. But it would be, I love seeing wild dogs. I think they are always active and entertaining around waterholes sometimes, so that would be very special. But even a little leopard popping out, having a drink and moving off would be very special. But we've actually been spoilt with some very unique sightings, not always live, but some special things that do pop out and come have a drink, especially at night time. Sometimes the more nocturnal animals and things like that that we don't always see in the day, but fortunately we're able to capture those moments. So I mean, yesterday we showed you the striped hyena, which was very special, where there was the white-tailed mongoose a little while ago. There was an interaction, I think, between lion and buffalo, which we were able to capture. So very, very interesting. Some are also the smaller nocturnal creatures that we don't get to always see. Well, while this lioness continues to rest, let's go check in at Stony Point. I'm sure we'll come back here a little bit later. And we have made our way all the way over to the Western Cape of South Africa here at Betty's Bay. And we have some white-breasted cormorants, which are busy drying themselves off. The sort of movement of the wings is, I think, to do with airflow, getting any bits of water off of the wings, that sort of thing. Looks like a smaller one on the left could be a Cape cormorant, different species of the same bird. And cormorants are very much associated with the sea, rivers and fresh water as well, but they are very active in fishing, sort of flying and dive bombing down, also sometimes just sitting and floating on top of the water. And then it's important that they come out and sit like this, sunning themselves, drying themselves off, getting their feathers all ready again. Hey 40, it's definitely possible to see seals. I know there is a colony of seals off the coast around the Cape Town area, and that's definitely a possibility to see one popping up. They definitely can. They occur all along the sort of area of the coast of southern Africa. Oh, Joanne, it is lovely, isn't it, the sound of the waves? It's definitely a sound that we don't hear in the bush. I grew up along the coast, and it is a sound that I do miss. And well, there's plenty of sounds of the bush that I missed when I'm at the coast, but it is lovely to experience both. And that sort of sound of the sea is very special. Well, just lovely to spend some time in a bit of a different area. You can see a gull has landed there now, probably a kelp gull. On top of the water and the cormorants in the background. Now remember everybody that straight after this today we will be going into On Safari, the pre-show before the live sunset safari that will be starting at 3 p.m. Make sure that you keep it tuned right here to WildEarth. And just before we end off the show, let's head back over to the Lioness for the last little view of her before we finish live at the Waterhole. Oh, and she's still in the same spot. Very, very relaxed. But it's been a wonderful show today, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Very relaxed, I think. We had a beautiful sighting of the elephants at Tau, and that's always great to see, with the one feeding there on that beautiful green grass. And then that mom and baby that both had no tails, that was absolutely fascinating. And then we did a bit of birding along the way with the heron. And of course, the wonderful surprise of this lioness, who we did actually see with its head up for quite a while, doing some yawns and things like that, which is fantastic. Dee, hi, thank you so much for sending through your comment. You say that you've been watching WildEarth for close to 16 years and you still love it as when you first started, and you're so glad that you're able to subscribe. Well, thank you so much, Dee. We appreciate your support throughout the years, and we hope for many more years to come. Cheetahs and other animals, good to hear from you. You say a perfect way to end. Of course, it is indeed a perfect way to end off with this lioness. She'll probably rest like this for the next 2 to 3 hours, maybe in the same spot, and eventually she may get up and have a drink of water and move off but we shall see what happens overnight or anything like that. But to everyone, thank you so much as always for joining us. Thank you for your comments and your questions. I will be having a little break from the waterhole now, and I'll be back with you in about 2 weeks. So enjoy the On Safari show after this and your Sunset Safari that's coming up live, and I'll see you next time. Enjoy. Goodbye, everyone.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to a bright, beautiful afternoon. As you can see, even our skulls have got some sunglasses on, given the sunshine that we've got today. And obviously, this is going to be all about what's been happening over the last 3 days of safaris. This is On Safari. Well, everybody, welcome to On Safari. It promises to be a good half an hour as we go through what's been going on over the course of the last 3 days, given that we last saw you on Sunday before the drive. My name is Tristan. On camera, I have got Mpo. No thumb today. What's going on? Mpo, give a thumb. There we go. Otherwise, everyone thinks that you're fake and you're not even here. We are coming to you live from Jumia Game Reserve, and so we would love to hear from all of you. Remember that this is all about interacting with you, so send through your comments and your questions that you have via the app or on YouTube or Twitter using #WildEarth. There we go. Right, I think because we don't have a huge amount of time and we've got a few clips to get through, I think we probably should start straight away, delving into things with our first highlight of the weekend, which was a beautiful, beautiful sunset that we had with some ellies. Very cool. You won't see much now because of the flare of the sun, but underneath the flare of the sun, which is going to be difficult to focus, is going to be some elephants in the dust. Isn't that cool? I think it looks quite cool. I mean, it's difficult with the flare, but I can try and reposition slightly if you want me to, Panda. But it's very pretty. That's better, eh? We're going to get bombed now, though. Photo bomb from this ellie. There's a little one. It's pretty, though. Besides the massive power line pole. The joys of being on Gari Main sometimes. But that is very, very, very pretty. I quite like that. Panda's doing a great job making it look good. So well done, Panda. But yeah, we've had a nice afternoon from a point of view of having the sort of big animals that eat a lot of food. They've all been a little bit more out and about. Esther says, "Wow, Panda, that is beautiful." I know Panda's doing a great job here. He's really managed to get that ellie with that dust and the whole herd now coming across. It's pretty spectacular. Fortunately, there is a vehicle, so Panda's just trying to do his best not to have the car in. So I'll just reposition.
The station that's going to relocate. Do you mind if I
And there we go. And last one is going to cross shortly. Well, wasn't that absolutely beautiful to have those ellies in that last afternoon light? It's not something we get a lot of here at Juma, and the nice thing is sometimes when it's on that main road, besides the power lines, which is not so nice for those beautiful shots, but when you get to that road, a lot of traffic is on that road, so it kicks up a huge amount of dust, and so when we have the light setting behind it, it just makes these beautiful atmospheric shots for our cameramen, and they obviously do very well at getting them. And I must be honest, we've been so lucky the last few days in having so many elephants around. We've had lots of incredible sightings. Last week there was swimming ellies, we had ellies all over the property, and that kind of has continued through the last couple of days as well. Hopefully it stays that way, because it's been a bit quiet on other fronts, so the ellies have more than filled the gap. The one thing that was interesting about that particular sighting was just how beautiful the kind of light was, obviously, but on top of it, it's just the way that we had all these animals there, and not one of them was too perturbed by the kind of cars moving up and down. I always find it fascinating that we have elephants in this area that in other parts of the Kruger, when they move into that, they're not nearly as relaxed as they are now in the Sabi Sands, and that's because of years and years of looking after the ellies and making sure that they are not in any way chased or harassed or anything like that. We end up getting these incredible sightings where ellies can be on both sides of the road and cars can move through, and they're typically very, very, very relaxed with what is going on. So hopefully that will continue. We don't want to have any sort of ellies in this area that are angry or upset with life. Right, I think we'll probably move on to our next clip. It was one of the other highlights that we had. I'm trying to think now when it was. It was with Eric, so I think it was probably on Tuesday. I want to say Tuesday, but it might have been on Sunday as well. But those ellies were not in the dust, but rather getting themselves rather wet.
For them, I think their skin is so thick, I don't think they'll feel that itchiness. Most of the time, they're so used to being covered in this mud, you know. Unlike us, where we're not supposed to be covered in mud. Well, technically we are, but we've strayed so far away from that over the years that our skin has adapted in other ways. Oh my goodness, that elephant is really, it's almost done. Look at that. Having herself an absolute time there. I hope you don't get stuck. She won't get stuck there. She's got plenty of help, but she's definitely making sure that she is covered in mud. Oh my goodness. It would seem most of the elephants down here are doing this very thing. They really are enjoying themselves. This is lovely to see, and this is what we wanted to see. I imagine it must have been a very, very warm walk. I would have had to cross over some very hot sand as well in the dune forest in order to get to this area over here. Oh, this lady's on her way towards us. If it's anything like yesterday, I don't think she should come near us. Because yesterday they were throwing sand at us.